Good evening. I'm Patricia Vallone with a CTV News update. I'm joined by Keisha Butts tonight, who has our top story. Keisha?
Angry, frustrated, and stressed. These are just some of the reactions from the Marylanders who haven't received their unemployment benefits. Attorney Alex Summerfield with the Unemployed Workers Union says he receives about 40 to 50 emails a day from people who haven't received their benefits. The complaints span nearly 2 years.
A lot of this money is federal. It's not employer paid. It's federal taxes that we've paid that were redistributed as pandemic assistance. So people really feel burned. They feel really betrayed, honestly, and anxious. These are working people. These are people with children. These aren't people trying to defraud the system or leech off the system. These are really good working people, and they need this money.
The group held a rally and filed a lawsuit today against the state labor department. We reached out to the labor department but have not heard back.
As the state health department continues to track the daily COVID numbers and restrictions are loosening, officials warn COVID is still with us and are urging people to get vaxxed and boosted. Meantime, here are the latest numbers. There are 223 newly confirmed COVID-19 cases statewide. The positivity rate in Prince George's is 1.39%. 5 Marylanders have died of the disease since yesterday. 296 people remain hospitalized, and that's down dramatically from more than 3,400 in January. With restorative justice at the forefront of much news today, Maryland's new U.S. attorney says his office can no longer rely on the status quo to prosecute cases. In the second segment of my interview with Eric Barron, he talks about efforts to reach out to diverse groups by making a pilot civil rights division permanent.
What are you hearing from people? What are their concerns?
It's really the full gamut. Obviously, policing has been, very much highlighted the past few years and beyond. But we're talking about all manner of discrimination in housing settings, education, locations, federal facilities. Things having to do with disabilities. It's really the full panoply of areas and venues where, we all deserve, an equal opportunity.
And Barron says instead of relying on just traditional complaints, his office has reached out to about 100 diverse groups, including civil rights and social service organizations. He adds that the new division will have at least 6 attorneys dedicated solely to enforcing civil rights laws.
Another Prince George's school board member is stepping down. Belinda Queen has resigned from her post on the school board effective today. After serving on the board for nearly 6 years, she's now running for the county council. She's the 3rd school board member to recently leave the panel. Meantime, the county executive is looking for someone to fill Queen's seat. Anyone interested in the position should send a cover letter and resume to the address on your screen. A Prince George's native is finally home after what he calls a terrifying journey trying to flee Ukraine. Maurice Creek was playing professional basketball in Ukraine when Russia invaded the country. With some help, he was able to develop a plan to get out. However, just prior to leaving, he had to stay in a bunker for safety for about 3 days. The 31-year-old says he and a few others had to drive through Odessa, which he says was a hot zone at the time.
I went to the Moldavian border, so I had to drive through the Moldavian border to get to the Romanian border. When I got to Romania, Bucharest, Romania, I stayed there for 2 days. After that, I flew from Romania to Amsterdam, Amsterdam to JFK, and JFK to home.
I guess I'm in shock because I'm still watching him sleep. I know he's here. I know he's in one piece, but I am just still going through some things that I don't quite understand yet, I guess, as a parent.
You meet so many people, you meet the teammates that you have to, go to war with every game. And those, when you do that, that's a brotherhood, that's a bond. And now that, I'm here and they're there, they have to fight for their country. It's just hard to fathom that, they have to pick up a gun and fight because somebody wants power and wants, wants to take over their country, their beautiful country.
Creek was living in southern Ukraine before the Russian invasion. You're watching CTV News. I'm Keisha Butts. I'll be back with more news with Patricia Vallone right after the break. Stay with us.
What if you could feel in control of your retirement in just a few clicks? At aceyourretirement.org, you can. Start with a free 3-minute chat with Avo, your friendly digital retirement coach. Just answer some simple questions like, how do you feel about your ability to save for retirement? Or in how many years do you want to retire? To get free action items customized just for you, get your retirement back on track at aceyourretirement.org.
Welcome back. Prince George's County Executive Angela Alsobrooks makes a surprise endorsement in the race for governor, and it wasn't for her predecessor. Alsobrooks, who was once considered a top contender for the governor's seat, has endorsed Democrat Wes Moore. The announcement was made at a rally as the Moore campaign opened a new field office in Upper Marlboro Saturday afternoon. The endorsement is a hit to Rashern Baker, who is seeking the Democratic nomination for governor for a second time.
A perennial candidate for governor is disbarred but vows to continue his gubernatorial bid. Republican Robin Ficker confirmed that the Maryland Court of Appeals disbarred him last week following a lengthy process initiated by the state's Attorney Grievance Commission. Ficker, who is a defense attorney, was accused of a slate of professional conduct violations, including failing to appear for a trial. The court noted that the 78-year-old has been flagged for misconduct repeatedly throughout his career.
Planning Board nominee Peter Shapiro says he's a fan of targeted growth, a concept that he shares with County Executive Angela Alsobrooks. Shapiro is a former Prince George's County Council member and currently heads the county's Revenue Authority. In an op-ed, Alsobrooks praised her choice, saying he is the most qualified person to lead the county into the future. He spoke with CTV News this morning about his goals.
What we want to focus on in the county is the right kind of development in the right places. And what that means is areas that are ripe for revitalization, especially areas around transit stations, transit-oriented development, and also what we call placemaking, which is the more that we can find the places that we can brand or rebrand to bring new excitement, make them more walkable, playable. This is the goal for the county, and we have a great vision for the kind of places where we want to see that happen. It's mostly inside the Beltway, and it's mostly around metro stations.
And the County Council must confirm Shapiro for the position. He says he plans to meet with each of the members to discuss his vision. Shapiro would replace Betty Hewlett, who retired after 21 years of service.
Since the 1970s, newscaster Bruce Johnson has been a fixture in the D.C. metro area. Now retired Johnson recently published his memoir and sat down with our Byron Scott to talk about it.
The book is called Surviving Deep Waters. The author is Bruce Johnson, longtime D.C. anchor. Thank you, sir, for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Good to see you.
Yeah, should be fun.
So talk about this book. This book's a lifetime of your work and your life. Talk about the process of putting it together, or why you decided to put it together.
Well, Byron, first off, this is a book that I wanted Max Robinson, legendary broadcaster, Jim Vance, another legendary broadcaster, Ed Bradley, and it goes on and on and on. I wanted one of them to write because this is a book that I needed when I came into the business, and it wasn't there. So I was by myself, first 4 years in the business in Cincinnati at the CBS station. I was the only black in the newsroom. I mean, no photographers, no writers, no desk assistants, no other reporters, nothing, just me. And it's a very lonely place. And you're constantly asking yourself, is it me or is it them? And the truth of the matter is, it's some of both. So, fast forward, Surviving Deep Waters. It came from Chickasaw Park in the west end of Louisville, segregated west end where I grew up. And the Ohio River ran alongside, Chickasaw Park. And we would go down to the river and we'd swing out on the branches of the water and just drop like rocks into the water. And we couldn't really swim. We could dog paddle. And you had to dog paddle quickly because if not, the current would take you downriver to God knows where. And so that's where the title originates, Surviving Deep Waters. You can imagine, the meaning it took on over the years. I mean, young adult, college, young professional, trying to be a professional. A lot of deep waters.
So it's not just a book about journalism. You didn't want to write just a book of journalism. This is your life story.
It's a lot about my life story because a lot of people I wanted to reach more in journalism because, you know, if you were in law, if you were in medicine, education, politics, whatever, you went through the same struggles. You know, just different environment, different profession. Trust me, they're the same struggles. Race, youth, poverty. I mean, I was the first in my family to go to college. I mean, the book is dedicated to my mother and grandmother, and she's really my great-grandmother because my grandmother was nowhere to be found. And they were so poor, they lived in an alley, and they wouldn't unpack from house to house because they were waiting to be evicted. I mean, that's my base, that's my foundation. Those are the women from which I come from, and but they were tough, never complained. They shielded us as best they could from a lot of those things. Couldn't shield us forever, of course, because we had to get out into the real world. But
so you got about 30 seconds here. I know you mentioned this is a book that you wish others had written. So this is for up-and-coming young journalists?
Absolutely right, yeah.
What do you hope they take from this book?
I hope they learn that if they're going to be successful, they got to persevere, they got to work hard. You know, they have to be of use. Yeah, the rule number one I say to young journalists, don't waste the viewer's time. When you show up on a story, when you're writing a story, you know, what do you want to say? Leave me something that I can't find on my cell phone.
Okay, so once again, the book is called Surviving Deep Waters. The author, Bruce Johnson. We'll have more with Mr. Johnson tomorrow. Thank you.
We'll have more with Bruce Johnson tomorrow. And still ahead on CTV News, tax season is here. We will have some tips coming up.
You know, a lot of people say when you're going somewhere, you don't want to look back. But I beg to differ. I can't lie and say it was easy. I looked at everything in a different light. I realized it started with me going back and getting my high school diploma.
Thanks for staying with us. Well, Prince George's police are investigating a fatal shooting in Chileam over the weekend. The victim has been identified as 43-year-old Efren Moran. Officers were called to the 2400 block of Chileam Road early Saturday morning. They found Moran in a parking lot suffering from gunshot wounds. He was pronounced dead on the scene. Anyone with information on the shooting is asked to contact police at 1-866-411-TIPS.
Tax season is here. You have about 1 month left to file. To receive the best refund possible, IRS spokesperson David Tucker says gather all of your important documents. That includes all W-2s, 1099s, and the letter for the third economic impact payment. If you have received that, Tucker says he's encouraging taxpayers to file electronically.
Tax software also helps to eliminate any sort of math errors. We find with electronic filing, there's an error rate of about less than 1%, whereas with paper returns, there's an error rate around 20%. So we really encourage people to file a electronic tax return if they can, and then hopefully if they are due a refund, they should still be getting those refunds in roughly, for most folks, 21 days or less.
Tucker says another first step is to visit the IRS website for guidance. We will have more about the 2021 tax season tomorrow.
Governor Larry Hogan has proclaimed March 7th through the 13th as Vehicle Safety Recalls Week. Hogan, along with the Motor Vehicle Administration, is urging residents to check their vehicle and automotive equipment for open recalls. In Maryland, motorists are notified of open recalls through registration renewal notices, which are sent out every 2 years. To check if your vehicle is the subject of a recall, enter your VIN on the search bar at the website at the bottom of your screen.
WSSC Water reopens the doors to its customer service shop beginning today. The one-stop shop will now begin accepting customers in person at the WSSC Water headquarters in Laurel. Customers that have billing issues or have financial assistance questions can come in and get help. Advisors will be available weekdays from 7:30 a.m. until 5 p.m. Officials say unvaccinated customers should wear masks when visiting the office.
And let's get a check now on your weather forecast. Tonight, thunderstorms are likely, lows around 39 degrees. Tuesday, mostly sunny with highs in the 50s. And Wednesday, rain likely. Highs are going to drop to about 42. Thursday, possible showers with high temperatures around 48. And that is your CTV News update. For Keisha Butts, I'm Patricia Vallone. Have a great night.